Welcome, dear friends, to the Darkfriends, a Wheel of Time podcast hosted by three gentlemen for whom the very wheel itself bends around. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Bill, Rob, and Rich.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. This is, of course, the Darkfriends, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am your humble host, Rob.
And I'm Rich.
Rich, I keep struggling every time I bring this in. I keep saying our humble host. I mean, I'm a humble person, but people are going to think I'm too humble. I can't think of anything on the fly smarter to say.
I'm not humble. It's okay.
And then you say, well, I'm just Rich.
Yep, I'm just me.
I'm the yin to your yang.
Right.
How has the week been for you, buddy?
Oh, busy.
For those who don't know, the other podcast that Rich does, RPG The Golden Years, has gone through a little bit of a rebrand and has now been renamed RPG The After Years, and he is on with a couple other hosts now. Who can you give us a little quick background on the new format?
Yeah, so we've decided to not really scrap Golden Years, but kind of condense it into something we just talk about, the list. We talk about that list a little bit, but then the other hosts and myself pick topics. We, are changing the format of the layout of what we're going to talk about. We have news. We have reviews of other games that are not on the list.
A little more modern, right?
Yeah, more modern.
Okay.
More modern feel to it.
Great. Figured I'd just throw that out there, let everybody know that you have been busy, not just pumping iron and working, but you've been doing some other podcast such activities.
Yes. I think I'm dying.
Still have that list of 500 games looming overhead, but it doesn't seem as daunting right now.
No, I have to start the next game. I had to do that tonight. I have to start it tonight. I was going to do it yesterday. Things came up. I got to do it tonight.
Is that Alundra?
Yep.
Okay, I've never played that one, but
yeah,
looks interesting.
I'm looking forward to it.
So this week we are going to be going over Chapter 38, simply named Rescue. We mentioned last week this is the first time that Jordan is going to give us the same events from a different perspective. So as we know, Nynaeve, Lan, and Moiraine infiltrated a White Cloaks camp in efforts to rescue one of the three Emond boys. During that last chapter, Nynaeve realizes that Egwene is also among them. Let's see what happens this week. So we don't have any new iTunes reviews, but we have been, when I just read from Tyler, he posted a little bit of information, Tyler and Bill actually, on Discord. We're getting a lot of positive feedback on YouTube. Our YouTube numbers have spiked a little bit in the last, I'd say maybe a week or so, with some great comments. Thanks to everybody who leaves us any kind of review. It really, truly, I sound like a broken record, but it really, truly helps us just be the best we can be for you guys.
Yep. I forget we have a YouTube channel all the time.
You what?
I forget we have a YouTube channel all the time.
I'll admit I'm a stat whore, so I'll constantly be checking to see, who's looking now? Which video are they watching? I'm a total nerd when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I'm looking it up now.
I think we got 60-some followers. Maybe we need to do something if we get to 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
See what kind of crazy crap we can have Bill do. In Wheel of Time news, I know they were talking about breaking away from the first Wednesday of the month, Wheel of Time News Wednesday. And of course, we are recording the morning of a Wheel of Time Wednesday day, so there may be more news coming out later today. But they did tease that they had a sit-down interview with Brandon Sanderson, and they're going to talk about the TV show and his thoughts on season 1. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
I am too. And is it me, Rich, or when you look at the hashtag WOT on Prime, I just call it Wonton Prime?
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny.
I mean, I'll call that from time to time. It's easier on the tongue than saying WOT on Prime. I'll just say, hey, I saw on Wonton Prime. They were talking to Brandon Sanderson.
I do like that. Wonton Prime.
Wonton Prime.
We'll just call it that from now on.
Yeah, so I was on hashtag Crab Rangoon Prime, and they were talking about... All right, I'm not that funny. I'm sorry. Anyway. Chapter 38, Rescue. As we mentioned, perspective shifts. We're now with Perrin and Egwene, or Perrin specifically. The White Cloaks are making their way to Caemlyn. They're marching down the road. They're bringing the prisoners with them. So as we know that the White Cloaks were originally on their way to Caemlyn, apparently to throw their weight into the whole Logain scenario. But of course, they picked up these two obvious Darkfriends. They must be evil. Why would two people be wandering around the countrysides? But hey, that's the way they look at it. So the thought is we'll go to Caemlyn, do what we need to do there, and then head back to our home base in Amador, where the questioners will suss out the truth. Because obviously you're lying. It's that one of the first things that the Perrin recalls is that he's starting to have dreams again. But this time they're not Balsamon dreams. They're not wolf dreams. But they're versions of what's to come once they reach to the questioners in Amador. So it seems as though Child Bayar, very calmly and very succinctly and without emotion, explains to them how the questioners do their deeds, how they get the information out. Jordan doesn't go into the specifics per se, but he leaves you with a feeling that they're no bueno at all, right?
Yeah, I mean, the dreams that he's getting, everything's kind of shaping up to what's to come in the next, I would say, pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's we have ways of making you talk.
Basically,
it's creepy and it's a good literary tactic to not go into the details, just to leave it to the reader's imagination. It's all about Child Bayar and his matter-of-fact way of speaking. The torture methods just make it all the more chilling. If he had emotion, or if he came off as a crazy person, as in how happy he would be to see these things being done, it would make it not normal, but a little less just jarring than the way he delivers this information. His eyes have seething hate towards Perrin, but he puts up a complete, absolutely doesn't give a crap kind of vibe, and it makes him more chilling and more of a fearful character to Perrin.
Yeah, agreed.
Bayar may or may not have made a proposition to the guys. Time, yes, that this is the very important scene, and how Perrin kind of suss out and work out information. They're making their way down the road, and he comes up to them and he stops the guards. He's like, "I need to talk to them."
Let me talk about that one.
Go ahead, go for it.
So, he comes in and talks about them having to get to their destination. However, he feels that the boys the boy and the girl are creating a dilemma for them.
They're slow.
Yes, they're slow. Bornhold is bound by honor, bound by taking them to their destination, having them tried and do all that stuff. However, he's taking up way too much time to do that. Yep. So the proposition is, what happens if you cut your bounds and you just flee, disappearing? Like, I personally, don't condone this, but what if your bonds were slipped and you disappeared? Maybe you cut your bonds on a rock. Nobody saw you.
Oh, look, there's a rock
right
here.
That's the proposition.
I think he would just drops a rock to the ground, and the rock has a sheared edge to the side of it.
Yeah.
Perrin,
I get it. I get why he's doing it. He's trying to make sure, this is, we have to do something else though. Like, we don't have time to be messing with these potential Darkfriends. We can always come back from later, basically, is what the impression I'm getting.
That's the impression he's pitching to Perrin, I take it.
Yeah.
As we've learned before, that Bornhold, Child Bayar, will be rough without notice. I think the thing was, like, when he let them sleep, wherever, and he kicks them awake. And if you don't wake up, I'll just kick you again. Oh, all right, let me wind up kick you again. Earlier in this scene, he kicks Perrin a couple times to wake him up. And he goes to kick Egwene. And before he can, Perrin's like, "Egwene, wake up now!" So that way she kind of wakes up. He saves her a couple shots in the ribs. He knows that this guy is emotionally ruthless.
Yep.
And all
I
these...
do like how Perrin is very protective of Egwene.
Oh yeah. The two rivers take care of themselves. That whole theme emanates through the entire series. This is more clear here than ever. He knows that he doesn't care who Egwene. He doesn't care if it's a boy, girl, Trolloc, Fate, whatever. He's going to kick this thing until it wakes up. That's how he is. And he sees him wind up, and he's immediately like, Egwene, get up now. You know, she's like, what? Oh, I'm awake.
She's very oblivious about it.
Yeah, and then she snaps into place. Yeah, I know. The first thought is, yeah, that's right. If I cut these binds and we escape, you guys can just go back to your normal speed and head off to Camelin, do whatever it is what you want to do, and Egwene and I will just scurry off the other way. You'll never see us again. We'll never bother you again. That would work. Then he starts to think, as Perrin does, he thinks about all the possible situations. He's a deliberate person. When he was growing up, people thought he was just a big dumb slow guy, but he's not. He's deliberate and plots out. He's thinking, and he takes things out to their logical conclusions. So then his second thought is, well, if we run away, you're going to kill us without hesitation, because now we're fleeing prisoners and you're within your rights to just kill us where we stand, because we would obviously be Darkfriends in your eyes at that point, because we're running. It's very popular theory in our world. If you're not guilty, then why did you run?
Yeah, basically. But the White Cloaks automatically think that you're guilty, and you have to prove to them why you're not guilty.
Exactly.
That doesn't help very often. It doesn't happen very often.
I agree. They may already have been found guilty and just not processed litigiously yet. If they begin to run, all that's out the door. They're automatically guilty, and
they're going to gun you down.
They're within their rights to just slay you where you stand. Then he takes it to the third ultimate conclusion. Well, Bayar has already made his move. He's already propositioned us. If we don't run, he's going to kill us where we stand so that we don't snitch on him. Mm-hmm. And now his mind is just completely racing. He has no idea what he can do here. There are no positive outcomes now, and he's fumbling and struggling, and he's like, wait a second, repeat that one thing again. He's just stretch out as much time as he can, and then he gets the wolf message. Help comes. He realizes that's a wolf message. He realizes that something's brewing outside. He doesn't know what it is. He has no idea how help is coming. He just knows now that he just needs to stammer, and he's trying to filibuster. He's like, wait, let me think. Oh, please, just give us enough time. There are no more good options. I need to think about what happens here. So he's trying to stammer and clamor and just kind of filibuster until help arrives. And help arrives in what form?
Of a mysterious slice in the tent, and lights go out.
Well, before that, Bayar talking to Perrin and Egwene and the two guards behind Bayar.
The two guards get sucked out.
Well, all of a sudden you hear, zoop! What happened? All of a sudden, and then the second guard, zoop! Where did they go? Then all of a sudden, a mysterious man steps out. It's our man. It's our man, Lan.
Batman.
Jamaican Lan. Yeah, Batman Jamaican Lan. There we go. There's another nickname for him. And Bayar swings into action with Perrin's axe. And I thought that was kind of cool that he immediately, I didn't know if he was already trained in art with an axe, but he's kept Perrin's axe on his side almost in a mocking way. And as soon as he's approached by a foe, he immediately uses the axe and attacks with Perrin's axe. And I think the way Jordan describes it is Lan just casually slides out of the way to where the axe flung by so close he could have felt the wind from it.
Yep.
Gives him a couple shots in I guess, like a 5-finger death puncher, lack of a better term, or what was the in Kill Bill, the 5-step exploding heart technique or something like that. Like, he gives him a couple shots in certain pressure points, and Bayar just drops. That was how I was seeing it when Uma Thurman was boom, 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 and the guy's like, "Oh my God!"
Bayar thought he was super cool.
Yeah. As we find out in hand-to-hand combat, Lan uses least effort, most results. So he just, he doesn't have to make this big flurry of dodges and barrages or parries. He just calmly moves his head and has the axe right by. And then he goes pump, pump, pump. And Bayer just crumbles like a sack of potatoes. Not dead. That's one thing that that Lan did tell Perrin and Egwin when Perrin asked, "Are they dead?" He's like, "No.
No, I knocked him out.
I only use non-lethal techniques until it becomes absolutely necessary to use lethal techniques." Kind of an eerie way for him to word that, but Bayer, it was, obviously he was crumbled, but he was still breathing. Lan is the Batman of Randland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very Batman-like, where like the two people just disappear. Then this mysterious man comes out, takes care of business. I like the narrative of Perrin trying to take the axe from Bayer unconsciously when he's unconscious, because Lan's like, no, he's out, he's done. He'll be down for a while. And Perrin's like, I don't believe you. I'm still very nervous about taking the cloaks and the axe from his hand. He's going to wake up and just cut him down.
It'd be kind of funny, though, if Lan just walks over and punches Bayer on the face. Like, he's down, I swear.
But I love the vision that even unconscious, Perrin still fears him.
Yeah.
He's broken his will enough to, even lying there unconscious, I'm not happy with this at all. But the plan was to don the white cloaks so that they, on the outside, appear to be just part of the encampment. They take care of the guards. They get the white cloaks. They put them on, and they start to make their way through camp. And the parents are like, well, how are we just going to walk at it? And then all of a sudden, that's when the lightning storm hits. He felt the ground rumble, and all the same kind of literary themes that we used. It was more light than dark. The ground was rent. It was like day during the night. And with all of the chaos and haywire that was going on, they were able to make their way through camp without issue. People will call and say, hey, you three, we need you over here. Okay, we're going to go this way. They didn't question these three white cloaks making their way out of camps, because of all the ruckus of the lightning storm, we also have the added benefit of Nynaeve unleashing the horses. They could make as if they were making their way out of the camp to go chase a horse. This plan works just about to absolute perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in all of the ruckus, no one stops to question the children, three random children who are heading their way out of the camp. And then Lan leads them to where Moiraine is. All right, pardon me as I turn the page. As Bill would have said, he would have quoted James Hetfield, turn the page.
Yes.
They meet up with Moiraine. As unflappable as Aes Sedai are, Moraine's in a little bit of a huff. She's annoyed.
Naturally.
Yeah, she's annoyed that the village wisdom, Nynaeve, has not returned. Because she gave her very specific instructions to go down to the camp, cut the horse lines, come back with the horse, and meet me here. Well, Nynaeve's like, screw that, I'm going to wait. Just to be a thorn in your side, I'm not going to do the comeback part. I'm going to wait and make a grand entrance later on. What's Lan's reaction when he finds out that Nynaeve is still in camp?
He's kind of pissed off a little bit. A little irritated.
He is, but what does he do first?
Oh, hell.
He pivots around and starts to make back for the camp. And gets quickly shut down by Moiraine. The unflappable, unemotional, she gives him a very sharp no. And he stops in his tracks. And he can tell he's like, okay. When I was a kid, I could tell how much trouble I was with my mom by how much of my name she used. So if she called me Robert, I knew I was in trouble. But if she called me Robert Charles Lennon, I knew I'd done some shit.
Yeah.
Same for you? I think it's pretty much...
totally.
If you get the full name with the middle name, you're like, oh, God, what did I do? Calls him out, Alan Mandragorn, and she throws out a whole bunch of titles and oaths that he's dealt with. Like, have you forgotten yourself? Alan Mandragorn, blah, 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 And one of the things she calls him is the Lord of Malkiri. Now, as our listeners know, Rich, you only have knowledge into the third book. But I will tell you that the phrase Lord of the Malkiri is incredibly huge. And a big name drop at this point of the book. I'm just notating that to our listeners who may not know the whole story. The phrase "Lord of the Valkyrie" for Lan is not a small thing, and this is our first real drop of that. Lan does acquiesce. Waters and Aes Sedai do have their rule sets, and his is he can't disobey. So she gave him a straight, hard no. As they resolve that, and he stays with them. Oh, Nynaeve then makes a perfectly timed entrance with the creator herself too in tow. So they're like, well, what are we gonna do? Where's Nynaeve? I'm right here. And she ends.
I got the horse,
and I got Bella. It was a perfectly timed. It was almost like she was waiting in the wings for them to talk about her, so she could pop out like, "Here I am." You dumbasses left me with the horses. Well, guess what? Here I am with the horses. Kind of a aha moment for Nynaeve where she ends up being like, "Hey, I can handle myself. I did what you said. I made it out. Here I am. You're welcome.
I did my job.
I did my job. I did it well. You're welcome." So after everyone makes leave of the White Coat camp, they set up camp however far down the road, and they discuss where Matt and Rand are. Moraine believes they're in Camelin. And the 90s like, she thinks they're in Camelin. Blah, blah, blah. Hopefully they are for her sake, blah, 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 blah. That night in camp, Nynaeve sits down with Perrin, and she tells him, "Egwene told me some of the guards were kind of rough with you. I need to assess the damage and take care of business here. Because, I am your village wisdom. I need to take care of my people." Perrin takes off his top, takes off his shirt, and Nynaeve is just aghast. Apparently his chest is completely yellowed and purple from bruises. Yeah. He hadn't even noticed.
Yeah, he get the crap kicked out of him.
He got several craps kicked out of him. He looks down. He couldn't even believe how bruised he was, and he even thanked Master Luhan for working him so hard in the forge to build up the muscle mass that probably saved him a few cracked ribs in the process.
Yeah.
Nynaeve goes to help Perrin with his wounds. As she's applying these kind of salves and poultices and healing him, she's mumbling to herself. She thinks they're in Camelin. She thinks they'll be safe. She thinks I shouldn't have to worry about some things. You can just tell she's brewing and just seething anger, just bubbling up. And she's doing this while she's healing Perrin. After she's done, both the little hissy fit and working with Perrin realizes that the bruises are almost all but gone, and he can make full deep breaths with almost no discomfort at all. And once again, without spoiling things, this is also another big kind of Nynaeve plot point. He even commented that these bruises healed faster than normal when he sits with when he's known Nynaeve. Like, whatever she did is more effective, or way more effective than she's ever been with him before. And I'm going to point out that please, how can I word this? Keep in mind where her mind was while she was administering the healing to Perrin.
Or she's rubbing his chest down?
Well, she was rubbing his chest down, but where her mind was when she was doing it.
Oh, I know where it was at. Giggity.
No.
Giggity. Sorry.
The worst of all tangents. All right, it's probably better that you just crushed my whole non-spoiler moment there. But yeah, jiggity. I'll go with jiggity.
I win.
Yeah. That never fails. Sorry, that was a non-spoiler spoiler. But those who know what that means will probably hopefully laugh at that. Anyway, it's this moment that the wisdom and the Aes Sedai notice Perrin has yellow eyes. She heals him. He's commenting, "Oh wow, I feel great, thank you." And she goes, "Wait a second," and she grabs him by the head, pulls in. She goes, you would have had a fever, and you would have been way more fatigued and tired. And
yeah, she thinks it's an illness.
Yeah, Perrin's like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, yellow-eyed fever, but the outsides of your eyes would be yellow, not the irises." And then Perrin's like, "Ah, shit," and that's when Lan and Moraine both are like, "What?" And then Moraine chimes in, and then we find out she realizes what this means, and Moraine can't really discern if this is good or bad. It's a thing, and she kind of throws it to the wind. Oh, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, but you can tell she's a little, I didn't see this coming, and I'm not quite sure what this means. Perrin does admit that they met Elias Pachera. Elias can commune with wolves and communicate with wolves, and that Perrin has started it seems Perrin has started down that path as well. One thing we did find out, and Lan kind of dropped this little bit of information on us, Lan knew Elias back in the day. Apparently, Elias is a former warder, but that was before he met the wolves and the Red Aja found him. That's when Lan knew him. We don't actually know that much about the Red Aja at this point in the books yet, aside from that the Queen's advisor is one, and that Rand was advised to kind of stay clear of her, and that the Red Aja took care of Owen, per se, in quotes, took care of Owen, Tom's nephew. Now we're starting to get we hear this about Elias and before the Red Aja got him.
Yeah.
We're not as the reader reading this for the first time, that's like the third time that someone's mentioned the Red Aja in not the most pleasant terms. That's one thing going forward is to, now that we know the Red Aja, got to keep both eyes on them. We'll find out. We'll find out more about that later, but we find out like a little backstory on Elias. He was a warder. Elias ran with Lan, apparently.
Yep. There's some connection.
Some connection, yes. Also, Lan goes into a little bit of the not backstory, but he mentions to Perrin that the Dark One's prison may be weakening.
If he can touch you here, it means that things are changing.
Yes. The last note I have says, Perrin also muses that the Dark One can't harm you unless you name him. And I got here in big letters, like Voldemort. That's how.
Yeah, that makes me laugh too about that.
In the Harry Potter world,
you don't name him, he can't touch you.
Yep.
And his name holds power.
You see, if you call out his name, he'll just appear like, "Hello, you summoned," like Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Like the worst version of Beetlejuice. That's how this chapter ends. I think it was another broken record, but it's a good chapter. It's the first time that we got the same event from a different perspective. We got some reuniting here. We got one of the Emond's Fielders back with Moraine. We got Egwene back with Nynaeve. I think it was good. It was a good way to kind of put a little bow on this little subplot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way that Jordan put this in a different perspective and shows what's going on with Perrin and Egwene, showing that they're still being captured by the White Cloaks, how they escaped, how much of a threat that the White Cloaks feel anything that could be potentially labeled as Darkfriend is to them. And not to mention how badass Lan is. I mean, just really like 3 or 4 quick movements and knocked out supposedly a high-ranking White Cloak.
I'm Alan.
Yeah.
Who are you? I'm Mandragoran.
Man. So it shows a great insight of what Lan can do in a very quick motion, basically a quick setting. What the White Cloaks will do, they're not all think by the light and they'll do everything. You still got some that like Bornhold that's maybe thinking of something higher.
Bornhold wanted
the lesser
Perrin
ones to get to the bigger ones.
My opinion is Bornhold wanted Perrin dead.
Correct.
And he can't disobey his commanding officer, but he presented him a proposition, and if he picked option A, he was going to kill him. Yeah. If he picked option B, he was going to kill him.
Yeah. It's okay. Option A was he was going to kill him pretty quickly. Option B was I'm gonna let you run, and then I'm gonna tear you down.
Yep.
And that gives me the legit reason to do it. So
exactly.
And then, Lan comes and rescues them and then introduces, once they're back to the camp, about potentially being the thing with his eyes and Moraine's stating things were not foreseen in this happening. So it gives a good tie-in in getting people back together.
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's a very good chapter. This is going to take us into the readings with Rob. I took the section after they've been rescued, I believe. And Nynaeve is realizing that his eyes are a little off.
Yep.
And now, the Ta'viren present to you Readings with Rob.
Chapter 38. Rescue. She stood looking at him silently for a time, then squatted with her bag beside her, saying briskly, "Take your coat and shirt off, Perrin. They tell me one of the White Cloaks took a dislike to you." He complied slowly, still half lost in Dapple's message, until Nynaeve gasped. Startled, he stared at her, then at his own bare chest. It was a mass of color. The newer, purple blotches overlaying the older ones faded into shades of brown and yellow. Only thick slabs of muscle, earned by hours at Master Luhan's forge, had saved him from broken ribs. With his mind filled by the wolves, he had managed to forget the pain, but he was reminded of it now, and it came back gladly. Involuntarily, he took a deep breath and clamped his lips on a groan. "How could he have disliked you so much?" Nynaeve asked wonderingly. "I killed 2 men. Aloud, he said, 'I don't know.'" She rummaged in her bag, and he flinched when she began spreading a greasy ointment over his bruises. "Ground ivy, 5-finger, and sunburst root," she said. It was hot and cold at the same time, making him shiver while he broke into a sweat. But he did not protest. He had had experience of Nynaeve's ointments and poultices before. As her fingers gently rubbed the mixture in, the heat and cold vanished, taking the pain with them. The purple splotches faded to brown, and the brown and yellow paled, some disappearing altogether. Experimentally, he took a deep breath. There was barely a twinge. "You look surprised," Nynaeve said. She looked a little surprised herself, and strangely frightened. "Next time, you can go to her." "Not surprised," he said soothingly. "Just glad." Sometimes Nynaeve's ointments worked fast and sometimes slow, but they always worked. "What happened to Rand and Matt?" Nynaeve began stuffing her vials and pots back into her bag, jamming each one in as if she were thrusting it through a barrier. "She says they're all right. She says we'll find them. In Camelin, she says. She says it's too important for us not to, whatever that means. She says a great many things." Perrin grinned in spite of himself. Whatever else had changed, the wisdom was still herself, and she and the Aes Sedai were still far from friends. Abruptly, Nynaeve stiffened, staring at his face. Dropping her bag, she pressed the backs of her hands to his cheeks and forehead. He tried to pull back, but she caught his head in both hands and thumbed back his eyelids, peering into his eyes and muttering to himself. Despite her small size, she held his face easily. It was never easy to get away from Nynaeve when she did not want you to. "I don't understand," she said finally, releasing him and settling back to sit on her heels. "If it was yellow eye fever, you wouldn't be able to stand. But you don't have any fever, and the whites of your eyes aren't yellowed, just the irises."
That was Readings with Rob. If there's a passage in an upcoming chapter you wish to have read on the podcast, simply tweet us at Ta'virenPod with your request.
All right, that was Readings with Rob. Next couple chapters, I'm going to probably introduce a few new characters. We will switch perspectives to Rand in the big city, because the next chapter is the big day where Logain is brought before the Queen, and hopefully Rand can get a good seat for the show. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and maybe Batman shows up again.
And maybe Batman Alan will show up to save the day.
That's right.
All right, this was fun, Rich. I appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'm going to spar with Batman Alan. I'm going to do some sparring.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I'm Batman. I'm just going to say that from now on. I'm
He's going to be Batman. I'm Batman.
You know, Batman. I'm going to go do some stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I think I'm
Go
ready to
do stuff. All right, man. You take care. We will talk to everyone next week. Take care.
That's right.
Batman.
I'm happy.
Bye.
Now that our heroic trio have left the familiar confines of the two rivers, they find themselves being chased by all sorts of denizens of the Dark One. Our party has been scattered, and the boys separated from Margraine and Lan. Let us hope that luck, or some other force, can keep them safe. Bill? Billiam! Put that dagger down! You have no idea where in creation that's been. No, Rich. I don't have an extra cloak with me. Maybe if you didn't ride your horse straight into the Arenelle, you wouldn't have this problem, For crying out loud, Robert, I know that girl from Berlon said weird things to you, but you shouldn't let it get under your skin so much. What are you, 11? You all remind me of a younger version of myself. Why, back in Watch Hill, I would...
Hello, friends! This is Troidal Power, host of the Troidal Power Presents the Power Playthroughs podcast with Troidal Power, a podcast where I, your host, Troidal Power, play through games in a powerful way. And I'm inviting you to listen to Troidal Power Presents the Power Playthroughs podcast with Troidal Power, a podcast where I, your host, Troidal Power, play through games in a powerful way. You can find it and a lot of other weird shows at probablywork.com.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
At probablywork.
For more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.
Go ahead and talk.
Hello. Praise be to the Creator.
Try it again.
All hail Bill in Bizarro World.